doing it as early as possible. We're doing it. We're not delaying. Thank you, Honorable Governor Srimati Tamilisai Soundarajan, and thank you, Dr. Krishnella and Mrs. Suchitrella. I would now request Dr. Krishnella and Mrs. Suchitrella to start the session to be moderated by Chairperson Uma Chigurupati. I would now like to introduce our chief guest, Honorable Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundarajan, who is the Honorable Governor of Telangana and happens to be the first woman to hold this office. She is also Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry. She nurtures great devotion towards public service and enhancement of living standards of common people with focus on health and education as prime agenda. She has donned the hat of being a state head of a political party and steering it with exemplary management skills and pro-people service milieu. Dr. Tamilisai Soundarajan is a proud recipient of an international award titled International Rising Star of the Year 2018 by Multi-Ethnic Advisory Task Force USA under US Congressman Danny K. Davis for her services to the society, especially in the field of politics, public and medical services. She's a great admirer of social and cultural strengths of our country and very considerate towards inclusion of values and humanity right at basic education system and upwards. With great pride and honor, I would like to invite Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundarajan to say a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome her with a big applause.
A special good evening to each and everyone here. Srimati Uma Chigurupati Garu, Chairperson, FICCI Flow, Hyderabad Chapter, and my respects to Srimati Suchitra Ella Garu, Co-Founder and Joint Managing Director of Bharat Biotech, Dr. Krishna Ella Garu, Chairman of Bharat Biotech, esteemed members of the Flow Hyderabad Chapter, distinguished invitees, guests, members of the press and media. The hall is full of women of courage, capability, compassion into the spirit of Flow motto. I'm really very happy to see a very colorful gathering here. I truly feel delighted to be a part of this powerful gathering that believes in power to empower. I would like to extend my heartiest congratulations to all the members on the successful completion of the 20 years of the Flow Hyderabad. I also would like to congratulate Dr. Krishna Ella and Mrs. Suchitra Ella for the tremendous contribution and service in health industry. India is truly proud to have its indigenous vaccine thanks to the efforts of Srimati Suchitra and Dr. Krishna Ella. I'm honored to honor this highly committed couple. I'm really very proud when our friend Uma asked me to hand over the memento to the hands of Suchitra Ella and Krishna Ella. These are the hands going to receive the greatest award of Padma Shri on 28th, Padma Bhushan on 28th, the highest award of our country. And I am very proud to be here. And I should say I came for this program and I am leaving to Puducherry by 6:30 flight. So only I am hurried. Because for 2 to 3 things I accepted this program. First, it is FICCI Flow. It is empowering women. So it's a women program. A women governor should attend it. And above all, it is the felicitation of Suchitra Ella and Krishna Ella, the dearest of our country during this pandemic. And when I visited their lab, Biotech, Bharat Biotech, initially not only as a governor, as a doctor, as a friend, the commitment which I saw in them and the commitment of the scientists, I believed definitely we will come out with the indigenous vaccine as early as possible, which was not dreamt about it. The whole world didn't dreamt about it. Nobody believed, say, developing country like India will come out with vaccine. And I should congratulate, honor, and there are no words to congratulate them. There are some super words to compliment them, because we are safe because of their vaccine. And I'm very happy. No effort is without hurdles. Particularly the hurdles they faced. As a doctor, I know what are the phases, whether you have gone through the 3rd phase, whether you have published, whether you had the endorsement, all the questions, whether they work it or not, whether they commit it or not, but we are very good in asking questions. So you will ask questions, whether you did that, this, how fast you can bring out, how research can be completed in a such quicker manner, how you can come through, pass through all these phases, whether you have done the phases correctly, whether you have completed it. So many questions. But as a doctor, not only as a governor, as a doctor, from the first day I visited their organization, I believed that definitely our country will have the first indigenous vaccine from the Bharat Biotech with the commitment of Mrs. Suchitra and Mrs. Krishna. It's not an ordinary job. As a doctor, I know when we were students, medical students, we were looking forward the foreign countries for the vaccines to be imported. They will complete all their process and they will complete all their vaccination drive, and then only they will give it to us. Whether it is whatever may be but I should say now, the whole world is looking for the vaccines from India, particularly not only corona vaccines, because they are having 140 global patents. It is not the first COVID vaccine. Why the country was very confident on them? Because they are having 140 global patents and they are having the wide product portfolio for more than 16 vaccines. And registration in more than 116 countries. So we are very proud of you, and really I am very happy because I visited their organization and they are more my friends than scientists, because I feel very nearer to them. And I used to say when I was a medical student, it is very difficult to convince the people to get the vaccine. Actually, in Tamil Nadu, they propagated the vaccine drive through Rajinikanth, through Manorama. So I was a student at Tanjore Medical College. So when patients come for vaccination, they won't ask polio drops. It was propagated by the celebrities. So when they come for vaccination, they won't ask the medical students or medical fraternity for polio vaccine or any other vaccine. They will ask only, give me Rajini vaccine, give me Manorama vaccine. So that is the awareness of our people. But I felt very bad when, in spite of coming out with successful vaccine, people were hesitant. So I went to a tribal hamlet to get my second dose because I wanted the tribal population to get the vaccination. And then the first dose I got in a government medical college. So I didn't want them. So even our honorable central minister appreciated me because I was on the roads. I wanted each and everyone to get the vaccination. So house to house I visited to motivate them. You would have seen in the social media, when the people saw me, some of them closed the doors and ran away. Some of them climbed the trees, so to prevent themselves from get vaccinated. But in spite of that, we pulled them, and now Puducherry is 90% vaccinated, and our honorable Telangana state is also. I went on January 16 for the test drive, that dry run. I went, and then more than lakhs and lakhs and medical staff are trained in that. And we are very happy. We are safe. Everyone is asking me, why to get the vaccination? Now we are corona free. We are not affected by corona. You are corona free because of vaccination, not because of anything. And another thing, we are safe. We crossed the third wave without any casualties, more casualties, and without more hospital admissions, more ICU admissions, only because of vaccination. So hats off to Suchitra and Krishna for coming out with indigenous vaccine. We are so proud. We have administered more than 180 crore doses, not only 180 crore doses. We have exported for more than 150 countries, my vaccine. I am very proud as a medical doctor. I am standing here not only as an Indian who have taken the Indian vaccine, which is the pride of our country, which we are all dreaming about, what we were dreaming about during our medical days, medical student days. So I am telling, because this is the financial year going to be end on March 31st, and not on the governor, there's no any great job for governor in the financial commitments, but lieutenant governor has more job to do because I have to sign each and every file. So in Puducherry, particularly in these last days of this financial year, I'm too much occupied. But when Vicky and when Uma called me for this particularly flow, as well as for Suchitra and Krishna, I came here, and directly from here I am going to the airport. So I came from the airport, just went to the Raj Bhavan and came here, and I'm moving only exclusively for you. That is the smallest thing I can contribute to your service. It is not easy job because the pain they went through for the recognition, even though the ICMR and our National Institute of Virology supported them, but the pain, I always tell one story, how the unfocused get the focus later. One small boy went to a restaurant, and he is a poor boy, and he asked the bearer, called the bearer and asked, please give me a cake, which is 50 rupees. And that lady bearer, she just saw it, why this boy, this he was showing one, then she told, no, this is 60 rupees. She was showing another cake, then she was telling, no, this is 75 rupees. Poor boy got one 50 rupees, so his limit was 50 rupees, so he got a cake, and then he went and sat in a table, and he was eating. This bearer, she didn't took care of her. She didn't take care of him at all. She didn't see him, because he was a poor boy, and he won't give any tips, she thought. And she was concentrating on a table where affluent people were sitting, laughing and enjoying, and she was concentrating on them, she was serving them. This poor boy was sitting and taking, nobody took care of him, nobody concentrated on him. But after they left, this affluent group They enjoyed everything and just left without paying any tips. She thought they will get more tips. This poor boy took it, and when she removed the plate, there was some 50 rupees under the plate. So he got 50 rupees cake, and he wanted 50 rupees for the tips to be paid to her. So this boy was not cared, but he cared the service of the people. So it is, I can imagine, first Bharat Biotech was not taken care. They were thinking, oh, how the whole concentration of the world and India was on other companies. But Bharat Biotech continuously, because of their commitment to this country, they made it, even though the concentration and the focus was not much on them in the initial days. But I could say when Krishna Ella was very furious when some doubts were raised on his vaccine, and the way he handled it, like a tiger, he roared and said, my vaccine is the best, and because of that, our Honorable Prime Minister took Covaxin. That is the vaccine endorsement they had for their vaccination. And really, because why I am telling all this as a doctor, when we come out with researches, when somebody is not accepting it, the pain and the commitment and the hours and the sweat and the, our efforts spent on it, when somebody is coming with some doubts, or whether it is that, or whether you have passed this phase, or when research is complete, or this, that, and the angry which we'll have, it is not the angry for themselves. It is the commitment that we should come out with good vaccine, a better vaccine to this country. And I'm really very happy to attend this program. And they should come out successfully with much more vaccines. It's a preventable, because as a doctor, I believe in preventing a disease than treating a disease. They are in the preventive mode. So I should laud them, because they prevent more number of diseases. And I feel, because when I went to the organization, they said they will come out with drops also. Because when we came out with polio drops, the eradication was excellent. So when they come out with drops, and now I am very happy, our central government first gave the vaccine in phased manner. Everyone said, why over 61 medical professionals? It was meticulous planning. Now we have administered more than 180 crore doses, which is the largest vaccine drive in the world. And I'm really very happy to be a part of it. And I really no words to felicitate them. But anyhow, I'm really very happy to be here, and more laurels to come, I wish. And wish them all the best. And they should live long. And I'm really very happy they are, as couples, they are serving the country. Because when we are in the same field, my husband always used to say, because we are both from the medical profession, we are complementary to each other. We are more understanding. So because of that, productivity is more. Whether as a nephrologist, I understand his specialty, and as a gynecologist, he understood my specialty. So I used to say, no, within 5 minutes I will come. Then suddenly a case will come. Then we have to go for cesarean. Then sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours will be delayed. But as a doctor, he understood it. But him also, as a nephrologist, he used to spend more time with the patient than a wife, because nephrologist wives are the pitiest persons in the medical field, because as nephrologists, they have to take care of the transplant patient, recipient, donor, and they have to take care of everything. They used to spend more time with the patients. But as a doctor, I understood. But I feel like my husband and myself in the same profession were complementary to each other. So to achieve greater things, because they understood each other. It is very difficult to understand each other and to be in the same field and to bring out great laurels to our country. And you're the pride of our country. That's the words I can say. And really very happy to be here. Wish you all the best. And my request to you, all the women here, please take care of your health also, not only pandemic. Because as a doctor, I have seen, I always narrate one small incident which I faced during my postgraduate days. because as postgraduates, I was a second year postgraduate student, so we wanted to bring awareness about breast cancer, uterine cancer to the patient, to the women. So there was one women exhibition was organized at Chennai, and it was a women exhibition, very popular exhibition. Usually lakhs and lakhs of women used to visit that exhibition. So we requested our chief of our gynecologist chief, so we will hire a stall so that we will create awareness among the women about the breast cancer and the uterine cancer. So we created charts, and then we provided all the medical facilities to for early diagnosis, for screening, for whether it's pap smear or breast screening, everything. So we are ready. Then the exhibition was inaugurated. This side was the sari shop, in between our stall, and that side was the jewelry shop. These ladies used to come, they used to take the sari, put it on the shoulder, they will see like this, that and that. Then we will be, as medical students, we were ready with stethoscope and with all the screening facilities, thinking that women will drop in our stuff. They will move away from our shop, and they will enter the jewelry shop, and they will put the jewel. We were looking in a distress, then we pulled them and told, if you are healthy only, you can be, we can wear the sari and we can wear the jewel. You won't believe, after we pulled them, we diagnosed more than 200 early uterine cancers and 100 early breast cancers only by screening, who didn't have any symptoms. So I'm requesting you, apart from celebrations, apart from enjoyment, please look after your health. Do yoga, you do meditation, always be happy. Don't compromise your happiness for anything. Don't compromise your health also, for your profession, for your family. Please be happy, be healthy. That is my message also. Thank you very much. I'm very thankful to you, to Uma, for calling me, and really very happy to be here, and no words to appreciate. Again, I'm telling Suchitra and Krishna, it's my pleasure to be here, and I wish them all the best. Because of you, the country is proud about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Governor of Telangana, Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundarajan, for your inspiring speech on health and vaccination. You and leaders like you lead women into believing and recognizing their strengths, their unquestionable power and capability. On behalf of Flow Hyderabad, I would like to thank our chief guest, Honorable Governor of Telangana, Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundarajan, for taking out your precious time, being here, and sharing wonderful insights on health. It was a pleasure to have you as our chief guest. I would now request Dr. Krishna Ella and Mrs. Suchitra Ella to start the session, to be moderated by Srimati Uma Chigurupati.
Thank you, Radhika. The last 3 years have been challenging, unlike any. Just sit down. Good evening. The last 3 years have been challenging, unlike any that had happened in the history of mankind. We were hit by a pandemic that nobody knew how to control. To say the least, saving the world was in the hands of a few proactive and scientifically brilliant leaders who prioritized the need of the hour over everything. Amongst the few breakout figures of the coronavirus fight was India's very own Bharat Biotech, a firm that developed, manufactured, and commercialized an indigenous vaccine amidst chaos and the kind of pressure that one cannot even imagine. Not only did the Covaxin, a name that is household that we have heard of, which helped to save lives, but also put a whole country on the global map. If I have to go on and on, I will keep going on, and to start, discuss numbers and facts. But I'm sure that all of you want to hear this and much more directly from them. Moving forward, let me introduce you the two people who need absolutely no introduction. The dynamic, aggressive, yet super humble, I'm not introducing. Humble leaders behind the brand and the pride of India. Covaxin, who have and will continue to inspire generations of young leaders. To me, they are Krishna and Suchitra, but to the world, they are deservingly Padma Bhushan awardees, Dr. Krishna Ella and Mrs. Suchitra Ella. Please put your hands for them together. This is not going to be very tough exam. Suchitra, I'll start from you.
I didn't cheat. I don't know what she's going to shoot. So you all know Uma better than me, or maybe I don't know if I know her better, but go ahead, Uma. We'll give it our best shot.
A glimpse of your entrepreneurial journey. How is it started? The reason for coming back to India, the initial struggle, and now during the pandemic. Let it be long, but we would like to listen to you from you, Suchitra.
Oh God, me? Why, I go first or what? All right. Our journeys together started way back in the 80s when we, am I audible? Krishna and I moved to the US in 1986. So our professional and our academic journey and our careers, if I should say, started somewhere around that time in the mid-80s. Krishna was chosen as a Rotary International Scholar from India. He was one among the two who were selected at that point of time from the country. And his academic thirst was not done. He was already working with a multinational company in India, and we had just then been married, and we were stationed in Karnataka. But when this kind of an opportunity came along, I supported that. I said it was very important for us to go beyond what we can at times, because it's, knowledge is always an unending part of our lives. I don't think knowledge is ever complete. we can keep on acquiring knowledge. So we moved, left everything, packed 2 suitcases. And I also had Jala at that time, Uma. My daughter was 2 years old, so I had a 2-year-old child, and and Krishna and I both moved to the US, and we were in Madison, Wisconsin, where we were first in Honolulu for about a year, and later on which we moved to Madison, and a 7-year journey in the graduate program at Madison, Wisconsin continued. After all that, again, later on, after I was the supporting spouse that I had to be. I thank my lucky stars, because in those days I did not hear of a H1 then, not much, at least it was just beginning. But I was on a J2, so I was extremely lucky to have even attempted working in some of the US organizations, which I could in a small city like Madison. It's a state capital, but it's definitely not the New Yorks and the Chicagos and the Los Angeleses and the Atlantas and all the other big cities that we are all used to. I mean, where the opportunities are more. So this was a very academic town with 45,000 students enrolled in that system. So it's you cannot imagine Madison without the campus, though it was also the state capital. I started working, I worked with retail, I worked in customer operations, I worked in marketing services, I worked in financial services, I worked in one of the largest financial institutions in the state of Wisconsin, and I went into the back-end operations of the organization, moving up the ladder, starting from the first step of the ladder. And that's how the children, again, then Rachel was born again in the US. We completed his tenure at the graduate program. And then came his boss, who said that he wanted him out of his specialty and his field of expertise, which was in plant pathology. You being a entomologist, plant pathologist, you know what the background is. So his boss came up to him one day and he said, Krishna, I don't want you to continue to work in plant sciences, and I'm challenging you to move out of it, think out of the box. And maybe that was one of the very first steps in terms of how your teacher or a guide in a graduate program could really challenge you and say, move on to something else, do something different, go into the other systems that are out there, and get on to more knowledge and more training and more research. So we moved to another medical school, which was the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston, South Carolina, and then that's where, when Krishna's fellowship came from the National Institute of Health, which was instrumental for him to be a faculty at the medical school in Charleston and conduct his research under the fellowships of the National Institute of Health of the United States. So this was our training, academic journey. My working career started in the US. I had not probably taken up a job in India. But my very first exposure to the US was not just as a wife, but also as a working mother, and juggling with a 2-year-old at home, trying to do shifts, so that when he was in school, I would be at home with Jala. She was too young to be left out in a daycare at that point of time, I felt. I was also new to the system. So all these juggling was happening, multitasking was almost on a day-to-day basis. But still I felt that this was probably the best opportunity that I could ever get my hands on, working in a system like that for almost 13 to 14 years in marketing operations and in business development and in all the commercial operations of organizations that I could get into with my basic skill set and whatever. I also continued to get into learning in terms of joining courses so that I could do part-time enrollment in marketing programs, and I was also working. So I balanced kind of like it was a tough rope to walk on with 2 kids and Krishna in graduate school and then later on becoming faculty. But it was a great, I think it was the best years of my life. I think it was the best years of my life to experience hands-on the system that is in the US, the opportunities that come along the way, the challenges that also come up in our ways, and for us to be accepted then, I'm talking mid-80s and mid-90s, it is not the 21st century, where today India is in a different ball game altogether. So this was, challenging times for us personally, and but nevertheless, it gave us the best of the strengths in terms of rolling ourselves in a meritorious system that could lead us on to think that we could take upon entrepreneurship and also move back to India. That was another big story again, that if I have to start telling that. But I think without this exposure and experience of the US, I don't know whether we would have really started thinking out of the box. I mean, we didn't come from, we are first generation entrepreneurs. For those of you who think that my parents were in business or his parents were in business, no. So we just turned the game in our favor and we said, let's try it, let's do it. If we fail, it's okay. So that was the kind of, the mind was saying these kinds of things. It's okay, you're going back. And people asked us, why do you want to go back to India? I'll come back to that later.
So shall I ask Krishna Garu that question? Why did you come back, and how did the Genome Valley happen, and where did you get the investments from? What kind of support you have, and initial struggle? Can I ask you, Krishna Garu?
Sure. I think all ladies are very tight-lipped, very serious actually. I just want to thank Uma. I mean, I just got in only because of Uma. And thank you for the outgoing and incoming presidency. And I think I just want to tell you, I was always cursing my parents. Why did they keep my name Krishna? I was always saying, why they, Jay, some Umesh, something like that, why not? Now I'm happy that my name is Krishna today. Okay, so I think the life is, we went to US with 2 suitcases. So when you return, I came with a 40-foot container. The life cannot change more than 2 suitcases. Again, I can go back with the skill set if you have knowledge and skill set. I mean, I saw the flow has got a lot of skill set, which is very critical. I think that builds entrepreneurship. I'll tell you an example of entrepreneurship. You look at a catering technology student, who's like the boy is a catering technology. He has got a degree, but he doesn't know how to make idli. Will you hire him a cook? Because he's shown the degree. You don't hire him because of his degree, but he looks at his skill. I think the skill set is important. I think what US has given us a good skill set of that. That when you have a skill set, it builds you confidence that yes, you can use the knowledge, what has to be used. I think that was only one thing. When we went 40-foot container, we came back. And I think the most important in all the game, the spouse, whether his wife is want to come back.
Of the 40-foot container, small correction, don't think that Suchitra brought whatever she wanted back from the US. I think maybe 70% of it had to be for the project that we had to start, including the equipment and some of the consumables and some of the raw materials which are required for the QC testing and the analysis, which were not available in India at that point of time. We just literally lugged it all in this 40-foot container so that he could start working with his team of scientists from day one. So, small correction.
So I think...
The 40-foot is right.
No, it's true. I mean, I remember the story when P.N. Rao was a custom officer. Yeah. He said, you'll go to jail because you brought the household and also the laboratory both together.
I didn't know.
So he said it's very not possible to clear. But anyhow, he was kind enough to understand the situation and cleared. I still remember him as a good friend. But I think, what is important, spouse, major, whichever is, wife wants to come, the lady wants to come, husband, or husband, whatever it is, spouse. I think if that encouragement is not there, it's not possible. Otherwise, what happened? if the eye come and the gas connection doesn't come, telephone line doesn't come, you'll be talking morning to evening only taunting on these issues, only, not on the project. So I think, and if anything goes wrong, you can always blame the spouse. You brought me here, so that is happened. So I think the most important, is the spouse. And certainly my mother has also played a major role. And I think she used to tell me philosophically every time when I call her, she will tell, son, you have 9 inches stomach. How much ever money you make, you can't eat more than 9 inches stomach. Come back and do whatever you want. I'll sell my land and give it to you, whatever you want to do. Of course, she didn't sell any land also. But what is important, it's a simple philosophy, simple concept that what makes the people to be an entrepreneur is not just alone. It is not the skill set alone. The ecosystem. That ecosystem is a spouse, mother, parents, children. Everybody plays and surrounding. Everything plays a game. It is not just one system. And I think, we're lucky today. That's all I can say. I think I'll leave it to next question to Uma.
Dr. Ella, the scientist, Krishna Ella, the entrepreneur. Which is more exciting and challenging?
I'm still a scientist. With the minor scientist, I'm not an entrepreneur. And I will never be an entrepreneur and never want to be also an entrepreneur. Science is my passion. And I think the science, is just a simple biology. It's a simple biology, You look at it, I want to lose my weight. I thought I'll eat more protein, I'll lose my weight. And then when I started eating more protein, uric acid started. Now I can't walk. You see how the life nature is? And I think, the science is a beauty. Science is an amazing thing. If you start understanding in a common sense, it's a wonderful field. But you need to understand in a common sense language. Then it's the best science. But I think I still am passionate about science and I remain a scientist.
Challenging?
Challenge? Challenge? Challenges is there. As a scientist also you have challenges. Scientists also.
Where more? As an entrepreneur or a scientist, where are you facing more challenges?
I think scientists are more challenging because we are competing globally. We are competing globally, not just in India. When we compete globally, science is challenging. So now I have to compete with US scientists and European scientists. That's a challenging for us in a vaccine field. Because remember the vaccine field, very few companies in the world. Look at US, only Merck and Pfizer. And the third company, Moderna, has come now. I don't know. And the Europe, you come, only 2 companies again, GSK and Sanofi, not many. So the intensity is very high. When you have few companies, intensity of the science is very, very high. So I think still scientists, as a scientist facing every day on science globalization issues is a challenging. Entrepreneurship, once you build, systems can drive the entrepreneurship. But science cannot be driven by an entrepreneurship. So it's a different game. And I think it's a tough job to be.
Then let's talk about Covaxin. I know you must be fed up of talking to so many people, but still we would like to listen from you. This is the vaccine which put you and Bharat Biotech on the global map. Not that you did not make vaccines earlier. They were there in 116 countries, I think. But still, the recognition and all these things. How did you manage to create a vaccine so rapidly? And why you? When globally much larger companies were trying, what was your role and contribution in R&D and in scaling up?
No, I think I'm a scientist. I'm a vaccine expert, some knowledge we have. So what I looked at very simple. India needs a vaccine. It's like a nuclear. Okay, if you don't have country supporting system, then you can't be. So when you have a pandemic, nobody will give you technology. They will all controlled by so many methods. So I looked at only one thing. What can be done, a vaccine, which can be given to adults. Because child vaccination is very easiest. You give a child, baby cries, you show some toy, baby forgets about it. It's the easiest one to give vaccination in the world. And the best people to give vaccination is the child. The worst people to give vaccination is adults. Small reaction also. They'll keep noting down. And then I've seen some people writing a diary every 5 minutes. What is happening? So I knew this adult vaccination is one of the worst fields to be in. Okay? I looked at only one thing, safety is the most crucial in a vaccine. vaccine should not hurt. If it doesn't help you, but it should not hurt. And that's the bottom line of a vaccine field. So I looked at it, what can be produced is the safest vaccine is inactivated, which is given to children. All children are given inactivated polio vaccine and rabies vaccine. All are inactivated, same thing. It gives you 3 doses, it gives lifetime immunity. Okay? So I looked at safety. A child safety is important for adults. That's only one thing I looked at it. And that's how the game started. I mean, I'm not going up and because the Covaxin is vaccine. No, we're just scientists. We're just supposed to do the job. As a scientist, we are supposed to do the job. And anybody, somebody is starving, if he knows how to make good idli, he'll also make good idli and serve the poor people also. That's not something. It is everyone will do it. Everyone in this room, if somebody is suffering, you'll do it also. Every one of you do it also. So I think we'll reach out something, whatever you can do as a person. I think that's a common thing. But otherwise, it's nothing. That skill set was there, facility was there, ecosystem was there. We put in, but we looked at adults is a people to be careful because in adults again you have VIPs, non-VIPs. That is another one. So you have so many dichotomous issues. That was the only thing. We looked at safety, nothing else.
Also, I think the organization was extremely good in terms of in the last 27 years. Our first priority was always to build science and technology platforms rather than building our balance sheets. I think that just made a big difference, Uma. Because we never told people in our company that, we are going to become a $100 million company, $500 million company, because that was never discussed. The discussions were only about science, technology, academic research, and how do we catch up with the West. And when H1N1 came, if Krishna maybe missed on that, but I could just maybe add a point. This was about 10, 12 years ago. I think it was 2009 or so. We were one of the companies in India. We didn't have the strain at that time. The virus strain had to come from CDC, from the US, and it was under the, between the governments, when India asked for the strain, the US released the strain to us, and we were also one of the organizations that were asked to develop the H1N1 pandemic, swine flu. In common words, it was called swine flu. Many of you may remember now. So we did make the vaccine for that as well. So all these background work, the scientists, the employees, their positive attitude. Again, also, it's just not that the two of us sitting here can say that we made it. Or this is not, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to compare to anybody, but I'm just saying that it's not an individually driven game. It is a multifaceted game with 30, 40, 50 faculties involved in terms of building vaccine technology, and manufacturing is another cup of tea or another ball game altogether. I think the enormous support came from our own people. I think that was important. They saw that we could do it. And we, in the past, we have gone through a lot of grind with a couple of other vaccines, Uma. The rotavirus vaccine, which we launched in 2015, the typhoid vaccine, which was launched, I think, in 2014, or some in that time frame. So there were multiple experiences which really gave a lot of strength to the entire organization as a whole. And I think without their support, the two of us just could not have done anything much.
I would like to ask you regarding the 1998, the hepatitis vaccine, which you have released at that time. People will think, okay, they came, they did, they are successful. But what you had gone through at that time in releasing the vaccine, I think that you should share with everyone, because it is not bed of roses. It is so much of struggle. I want the audience to listen to that.
I mean, it's a struggle. I mean, India is nothing but a struggle. So I think, morning to evening you struggle and evening you sleep. That's all. That's the life. I think I mean, when you launch a vaccine like a recombinant vaccine, people will not believe it. It takes time to believe the system. And when you sell at an affordable price, then the question is it a quality, is it right? You know, Indians, you know, when you sell it at 1,000 rupees a dose, they think it's a good vaccine. If you sell it the same vaccine at 20 rupees, something I would choose, it's not a great vaccine. It's not a good vaccine. And also doctors, they'll put a multinational, it's a 1,000 rupees dose, and Indian vaccine 100 rupees.
Please
So
don't
suddenly
take any
they create a
offense.
doubt. They create a doubt. Okay,
Is
so-
anyone here who is in the medical practice?
No, it doesn't matter, but it's a fact. So, you know, that is a wrong thing in the beginning. So
It
was
was
a
the
lot of struggle.
brand that existed for for the developed nations when they made their products, whether it was a vaccine or whether it was any other product. The brand that a Japan says when they make something, or when a Germany says when they make something, or when the US says, or the UK, or whoever it is, or Korea now says. I think it's that brand that probably we as a country did not have. As a country, as technology builders. So I think that's what Krishna is referring to, is that there were a lot of questions in terms of, can an Indian company make a product which is on par with an international brand, or a company, or a country which it comes from. So I think that's what he was alluding to.
Krishna garu?
I'm done.
Okay. Suchitra, did you ever think that let's quit and go back?
No,
You never thought?
no.
You are always,
Yeah.
whatever the situation, you always wanted to fight back. Wonderful. You are playing a double role as a partner at home and workplace. How challenging is that?
That was quite challenging. It was easy handling Krishna at home, you think? No, as a student, maybe yes. It was tough. It was very tough because I had young kids. I also had to be. I used to feel there was a few times, Uma, when I felt that did I do the right thing for the sake of the kids? I never thought for myself because I said I was, I told you something, I'll come back to that point when, alluded to coming back. Everybody in the United States whom we had known at that point of time in the mid-late 90s when we came back asked us one question point blank. They said, do you guys know what you're doing? We said, I don't know. What do you mean? They said, you look like fools to us. I said, why? Because here you are, 14 years in the US. Both of us had our permanent residencies at that point of time. Our citizenship was under process. My children are growing up there. My son was born there. And then they said, you are making the biggest mistake of your lives by going back to India. I said, I know they were concerned. They were not trying to be, they were not saying this out of anything else but concern. I saw that in them. I knew that where they were coming from. So I said, wait, let us try it at least. We need to give it a shot. Because we never know whether what we want to do eventually in life, whether it's right or wrong, unless there is a starting point. And unless you go through that journey for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, I said it doesn't matter if I fail, I fail. But I have no qualms about accepting that I have failed. But I have to try. Without trying, and sitting in the US and then saying I can do this for India. India doesn't need us, by the way. I knew that from day one. India does not need us. India is such a huge country that India can do for herself. She's big enough to do things for herself. So I never came back to India thinking that, or we never thought that, oh, here we are coming back from the US equipped with A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and we are going to be contributing to this nation. No, wrong. We just thought that there are certain gaps, there are these challenges, but those gaps and challenges also give us the opportunities. So I think we looked at what are the opportunities that can be created in those gaps and challenges that existed in the country at that point of time. I think that drove us to come back to India. And I said, I'll come back to the US again because anyway my permanent residency was there. And I know I will get my citizenship that was not going anywhere. So I said, I'll come back. If I fail, I said, I'll come back. There's nothing wrong, but I want to give it a try because it's either do or die. You know, you can't be on a gray rope and say that, yeah, I would like to do this, but I don't like India. I want to say this, but I don't like, somebody there. You know, it's not possible that way. You have to get your feet dirty. You have to roll up your sleeves and get your hands in what you believe that you can do or you can at least attempt and do.
Krishna garu, where are we in India in terms of science and research?
I think it's changing, very rapidly changing. I think today I'm seeing the younger generation. They are driven by their own passion. So you look at, I always tell that when our generation, above 60s, we had an economic pressure to do education to get a job. That was the pressure. But now they're coming to the generation now, they are not caring about a job. So they want to do what they want to do. That's a great sign for the country. And, I always tell, innovation is done by the individuals. So R&D is done by individuals, and innovation has to come from the individual, not from the company or a country. I think the individuals are different now. The individual means the human resources are totally different today. And I think partly parents are also responsible now. The parents, one nice thing about the culture of this country is we don't mind selling a house to send the children for a higher education. So the culturally we've been built ecosystem within our family that we want to give knowledge to the children. I think that is there in the ground level. And I think that's going to be the future for the country. I think that is going to drive future of the country itself. So I think the younger generation and every parents also are knowledge seeker. I mean, suppose I want to buy a real estate, I don't think my mother or anybody will sell the house and do a real estate. But they don't mind sending in a higher education. So I think that's a great culture we have, and I think that's going to keep us alive longer.
But I think, Uma, what is missing or lacking is that I do see certain things now. I think we as a country, this is Vicky and this is Flo, and I also have represented women outfits at CII for the last decade and more. I find that as a country, as a nation, we still don't have women in science. We don't have women in technology. We have women everywhere else. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have engineers, we have computer science graduates, and everybody. I mean, we have politicians, we have excellent artists, performing arts, and the media and the entertainment. Everybody, I mean, musicians, athletes. But I still think that we as a country have the largest population of women on the face of this earth, which is 500 million women. I think that this is a great strength that this country should leverage itself on. Women in STEM is something that is extremely important for this country. And I think our girls and the girl child has to be taught that their involvement in science and in STEM and in education and in career building. Another issue that I think most of us face is the attrition we have in women when they are in their mid-30s. Most of us being entrepreneurs and executives know this, that we lose, many of us are brilliant women to social reasons and sometimes whatever they are. But I think we need to engage with them, sustain them, support them, nurture them, and handhold them through that little time that they need. They need those bridges to cross over. If we can do that, Uma, as organizations, I think we will retain all our women in the working force, whether it is science or any other field of area that they can excel in. I think that's important. I thought that should be my message today to through all of you, that all of us have a role that we can all play in it.
I just want to tell you about Flow. 98, 99, Amit Mitra was the Director General. Many people were not aware of it. I was sitting in one of the chairman of a committee, and they were discussing one of the topic is how do you bring women into the mainstream of a business angle? Because always only men. Fiki was totally men. When you have a drinking party, only men used to be there, no ladies. So I think that was a discussion, Amit Mitra, and I think Amit Mitra was an instrument. Now he's the finance minister in Calcutta now, Calcutta. He was instrumental putting that strategy on a flow, and how do you bring the woman into the business angle to the platform. I think that's a good thing because it brought the 50% of the human resources, the workforce, I mean not human resources, the human beings brought into the mainstream of it. I think that's in a way indirectly contributing.
Wonderful message from both of you. And final question to you, Dr. Krishna. What do you think you want your legacy in terms of science and in terms of the company you built in next few years?
I think, company you build, but you don't know what my son will do, what my grandson will do, which I don't have in my control. You can only create a culture. And how take that forward, that culture, is all depends on my next generation, third generation. Vaccine is a long-term growth. The vaccine companies usually survive more than 100 years. Not like other companies which short, but vaccine companies are long-lived. It takes ups and downs, a lot of ups and downs will be there, but it goes stable. And I think, I don't know, my long-term view, how do you keep this ecosystem continuing in that strategy of innovation, good to the kind of what we can do to society at large, and what do we do for the country. And I think that concept, how children are going to take forward, is going to be challenging, and I don't know how it's going to be. So leave it to the nature.
Totally understand.
Sometimes not planning too much and taking it on as it comes, I think brings us many answers. Many of you are entrepreneurs as well, so I'm not trying to preach the choir here, but I think too much of planning sometimes doesn't help me at all. It just happens, goes with the flow. Did we know that we were going to be hit with a pandemic? No. But just being there, not running away from it, raising to the occasion, and trying to face it and attempt doing something. It doesn't matter whether we fail or again not fail. And each one of us have contributed. During the last 2 years, the nation has gone through so much. But I think as a nation and as a scientist, for us, the advantage we have is that he and his scientific team never give up. Whether it is chikungunya or whether it is Zika or whether it was rotavirus, when we made it, we made India the third country in the world to produce, to develop and to manufacture and deliver to the world an affordable rotavirus vaccine for $1 a dose. Thanks to the Gates Foundation for supporting such kind of science and technology building platforms that are required in developing nations like ours. I think that's an important message that I think we need to give to our younger generation, that I think India at 75 is a great time frame. Many of us are first generation, I know in the room as well, or maybe some of our parents have been first generation. My father was a first generation engineer himself, worked his entire life for the country. And I think our children, the future generations, have a great platform now that is being created for them. The next 25 years down the line, I only see 3 countries in the world that are going to be in the top 3, and we all know who those 3 countries are. So I think it's a great time to take charge and also imbibe these value systems in our future generations so that they know that they understand their own potential first, and they also know what's the potential of the ecosystem that they are in, and the power of, as Krishna said, the knowledge-driven society that we are. And with knowledge then comes everything else. Like I said, we never thought about balance sheets. We never, even to this day, sometimes we don't even discuss, not sometimes, we never discuss. Only if there is a board meeting, that day the CFO comes and we look at some numbers and some things that are, they come and brief us the details of it, the auditors and everybody. But otherwise, it's science all the time. It's technology building all the time. It's manufacturing all the time. And that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. The last 2 years, I'll end by saying this, Uma. I know I don't want to take away your time from the rest of the evening and your program of your change of guard. I know how important it is. It's the last 2.5 years, Krishna and I believed in not staying at home and not working from home. There was no remote controlling from home on any of the activities and developmental work for Covaxin or for any other vaccine for that matter. Both of us would be driving 200 kilometers a day. We work out of Shamirpet, and our facilities are in Shamirpet. And we felt that this was the time to be with our employees and our entire organization, because we felt that they needed us to be there with them, to be motivated, because they were also putting their lives on the line when they are working with a live virus in our facilities. So that responsibility was also something that was extremely important on us, on our shoulders, whether we make the vaccine or not, but to be there for the entire organization, to feel motivated and to feel strengthened, that we could all do it together if possible. And I think that's what drove us further into this journey of making Covaxin happen. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful message, and it's really, really touching and heartwarming. That's why you are Padma Bhushans. Thank you so much. We are very, very proud of you. Especially Krishna Garu with your leg coming like this. I am really, really touched.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna Ella and Mrs. Suchitra Ella, for taking us all on this journey of good health and also sharing your inspiring journey with us. The kind of service you both are doing to the country and the world is quite remarkable, playing a pivotal role in safeguarding millions with the vaccine. Now we have to do our bit. We all have to keep our guards up, learn to endure, and overcome the situation. On behalf of Flow Hyderabad, I would like to thank Mr. Krishna Ella and Mrs. Suchitra Ella for being here. Can everyone